welcome to my 100th video! Granted, almost 30% of those videos came from Vita, but you know, they count. I posted John Grain's video about healthcare to my Facebook, and one of my friends said, okay, who came up with this video style? Was it you or was it him? Because if it was him, then I'm gonna think you aren't as clever as I thought you were. And first I had to laugh because, yeah, John Grain came up with his vlogging style from me. But then I kind of felt bad because, like, what am I doing that's different than anybody else? I sit in front of a camera, I talk, I edit it together with jump cuts, I throw in some sound effects and some text, and BAM! It's a vlog. So I've decided to try to come up with something different-ish. From now on, I'm gonna stand like this and gaze off into that corner. I'm also going to cut off the clips before I get to the end of my sentence. And there will be an awkward pause at the beginning of every clip, and the word pony will randomly flash on the screen. I expect this to catch on. I predict all of YouTube will be doing in the future. I feel like I'm swimming. So I'm not really going to do that. But it did make me think about creativity in general. A lot of people call me a creative person, and I think they're giving me too much credit. My creative process tends to come from seeing somebody else do something I think is cool and then copying them. Or I'll find a bunch of people that are doing this thing that I like and then study them and incorporate as much as I can that I like into the thing that I make. And hope my own style comes out eventually. In other words, I kind of feel like a creative fraud. My creative process is either that I just described, or getting super obsessed with a random idea that probably wouldn't make sense to anyone else. Example, when I was 4 years old, we used to get these sheets of stamps in the mail, like the kind you lick and then stick to a thing. It was the type of thing where they'd be like, pick the magazine you want and stick the stamp on the thing. Do you remember those? Big sheet of stamps. In my room, I also had a cheap bottle of pink nail polish. And in my 4-year-old brain, I knew two things. Number one, I wanted to stick those stamps to something. And number two, I wanted to paint with that nail polish. So I had at my disposal this clear plastic cup. I licked and stuck the stamps all over the cup, and then I painted it with the nail polish, and I handed it to my mom, probably somewhere in the back of my mind, thinking she was gonna get mad at me for wasting the nail polish. But apparently she thought this was the most incredible thing any human being had ever created, and she still has it on her desk to this day. I wasn't thinking I want to make some art. I was thinking I really want to stick these stamps to something. It doesn't matter what. And that really hasn't changed to this day. It's usually like, oh, I have this thing that I must do something with, I don't care what, or I'm just blatantly copying someone else. Like even at the beginning of this video, the vlogging upside down thing was inspired by a video Gunnarolla did called New Vlogging Angles. Sometimes I'll see a piece of art that somebody did that's genuinely original. I have no idea what inspired it. It just seems like this awesome thing they created out of thin air. And I feel myself being impressed, but also kind of jealous. Like, how did they think of that? And then I simultaneously love their brain, but hate them for being so smart. Zay Frank, for example, is the person who is constantly posting shit that's just wow! And then I try to remind myself that it shouldn't bother me so much. One of my favorite videos on YouTube is one that Wheezy Waiter made called The Most Original Video on YouTube, where he essentially says, nothing's original, everything's been done already. I've heard a lot of writers say that every story has already been written, that writing isn't just coming up with a unique story idea, it's figuring out how to tell it in your own way. And that's the part I think really gets to me is, what is my own way? I don't really know. Sometimes I feel like I'm just copying people and not really coming up with my own way. I'll watch hoopers like Brecken and Rich Porter and Tiana Zoomer. Sometimes my practice gets super bogged down because I'm like, why aren't I coming up with some revolutionary new trick right now? And I have to tell myself, just chill out. At least you're doing something. And maybe it's not original, but at least it's fun. Anyway, do you ever suffer from this feeling of being a creative fraud? What is your creative process? And who inspires you? Or who do you like to copy? I almost forgot to tell you that I recently did a collab with Jens from JK Vlogging. It's over on his channel. It's stuff Vita vloggers say. Or just getting super obsessed with the idea of doing something that could just to an outsider be dumb. Or just getting super obsessed with the idea of doing something and doing it. I'm getting off topic.